Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast. That's PNL for short, located in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. I'm your host and founder, Jen Noseworthy. Thank you for tuning in to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf. Watch and listen to PNL Podcast every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on UPRNTalkRadio.com. For tonight's Marine Cryptids episode on UPRN Seg 83, I've got a special guest waiting backstage from Pennsylvania and two co-host guests from Texas and North Carolina, who I'll bring on shortly. Now it's time to grab your favorite summer boating drink, a few fishing and marine munchies, and get ready for the show tonight. Paranormal NL Podcast is sponsored by the Bog Team. It's a boots-on-the-ground Bog Team doing historical paranormal investigations in Newfoundland, Canada. If you find yourself coming back to the show and you like the content, smash that subscribe button. Gratitude, folks. It all helps. Now, if you want, you can grab your PNL Podcast and Bog Team merch at TeePublic on our Linktree Paranormal NL Podcast. And all Bog Team music heard in the intro and the exit is available for download and use on all social media and streaming music platforms. PNL Podcast believes in supporting international paranormal networking and highlighting global paranormal people, places, and things. Now, let's get on with the show. I want to give a shout out to who introduced me to tonight's guest, and that's Mark Eddy from Third Eye Live Podcast. And Mark Eddy and Brian Bowden have both been on PNL Podcast. They are Alumni Network members. They've been on in season 2, 3, and 4. So check them out. You're going to love them. Now, tonight I have a special guest all the way from Pennsylvania and two co-host guests. I've got author Rob Shelsky from North Carolina and author Dr. Judd Burton from Texas, USA. And we'll bring the co-hosts on first. Here we got Mr. Rob Shelsky from North Carolina. Welcome. We got Dr. Judd Burton from Texas. Welcome, Judd.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm going to bring on the stage our guest tonight. We've got Max Hawthorne. And let's start with our co-host here. Rob, do you want to introduce yourself to the folks listening around the world?
Sure. My name's Rob Shelsky. I'm an author of some 82 books, going on 90, I hope. And the book's not me. And and I have a lot of cats. And I am a writer. And I'm a MUFON investigator, or was. And I like to investigate the paranormal, UFOs, the Mandela effect. If it's paranormal in nature, I like to do it. And well, I have worked for...
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes. And Dr. Burton, how about yourself? Do you want to introduce yourself to the folks? You're an Alumni Network member who's been around since season 1.
Yes, Dr. Judd Burton here. I'm a historian and anthropologist. I'm the director and senior fellow of the Institute of Biblical Anthropology, and I've been interested in ancient mysteries and high strangeness for as long as I can remember. And Rob, did you say that you have close to 90 books out?
Yes, I think at last count I have 82 or 86. I'd have to count them again to find out.
I think he writes in his sleep too, Josh.
That is incredible. I was just about to say that is an Isaac Asimov level commitment to writing you've got there, Rob.
Right.
You know, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to beat out Isaac Asimov. It's funny you should say that.
Well, you know, he had such a great work ethic. He never let himself get writer's block. And that's why he's got like 500 titles and every category of the Dewey Decimal System. We should all be so lucky.
Now, Max, I want to bring you into this. I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to have you introduce yourself to the folks listening around the world and on UPRN, the Public Radio Network.
Well, thank you. I feel like a younger version of, of Rob, because I have written fewer books and only have 2 cats. But maybe I'll catch up over time. But,
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about your stuff on the background there and how I was asking, did any of them move and were your cats playing with them?
oh gosh, those characters, I mean, they're ambush freaks. You walk around the house, sometimes they lie in wait to stalk you, wait till you're carrying a tray of food with drinks on it, and then blast you in the back of the knee, everything goes flying. It's good stuff. But,
so Rob, tell the folks listening a little bit about your expertise with what you're writing with.
Oh, you mean me?
Robin, Max, our guest of honor here. Max, you've got a lot of different books. As soon as I saw the covers, I was like, oh, God, I've got to check these out. Tell the listeners a little bit about your marine stuff.
Well, Olaf, shh. I'm known as the Prince of Paleofiction because a lot of the books I write are the Kronos Rising series of sci-fi suspense thrillers. These are novels, but there is, of course, research based on what's in them in terms of paleontology and such. They've won some great awards, including Book of the Year and People's Choice stuff. The first #1 bestseller I've had on Amazon is my cryptid research book, Monsters and Marine Mysteries, which was very popular. It was also #1 in marine biology and paleontology when it came out, which is, it was, for me, it was a thrill. I've been doing a lot of appearances, at least in the past. I've been on interviewed by the Washington Post and Fangoria magazine. I've been on QVC, Spaced Out Radio, Coast to Coast AM, all over the place. But that's the story.
So you've got a lot of different books on the go. Max, what got you into your love of fishing and the marine stuff?
Fishing wise, it started when I was a kid, and my dad took me, I think I was 5 years old, to a trout pond, like it was a stream or something. And I had this cane pole, which to me was gigantic. It was like 9 or 10 feet tall, and you're 6, you're tiny, and a worm on the end. And I was looking around, and I saw these bubbles moving, and I said, well, there must be something there. And I dropped it in front of the bubbles, and bam, I caught this big trout. And, literally you kind of get hooked on that stuff.
But you've caught some monsters in your time. I was wondering if you want to tell some of your experience catching the big ones, because you're an avid angler.
I think the largest fish I've ever caught, the largest bony fish, was a 600-pound Goliath grouper, which was about 3 of that fish. That's a grouper right there. That thing was 8 feet long and as broad around as a large refrigerator. But it literally threw the hook right at my feet at the bow of the boat. The biggest fish I've ever landed, which was dehooked next to a boat, this is a long time ago, was what would be the world record blue shark, which was a fish that was at least 12 feet long and estimated well over 700 pounds, which of course, was I guess an exciting experience. It wasn't very happy, let's put it that way, but it was released successfully and nobody died. So.
Well, you've been around a lot of other scary encounters with bringing fish on board. And I mean, it's almost like when you watch that movie Jaws, some of the wires and stuff can be, did you want to explain a little bit about that to some people, how dangerous it can be?
The wires, you mean when he says like using piano wire?
Yeah.
When you fish for a predatory shark, and by the way, the picture you showed of me, since you were mentioning danger, that little one, not that one, that's just
I like that one.
Yeah, we were actually shark fishing, and then they superimposed the tip of a snout of a pliosaur next to the boat, and I'm like kind of doing the Austin Powers thing or something. I didn't know they were going to take the picture at that moment. It says make sure the mate gets stuck. But the one with the grouper, if you look on the floor on the left side, there's a pool of blood.
Yes.
There, that's my blood, because that fish, they have these razor sharp dorsal spines that stick up. And while we were getting the hook out, he flailed and he stabbed me right into the ankle about an inch deep, and it was just coming out there. So that's my blood, not his, for example.
I didn't realize that a lot of these big fish, they have some pretty wicked, like you said, some tail fins and stuff like that you got to be careful around. Do you watch, or are you a fan of Jeremy Wade by any chance?
Oh, I used to watch his show. What was it called? River Monsters a lot.
Yes. Yes, I love that show.
That's Reggae, my ex-girlfriend from Jamaica, actually.
That's the dolphin?
Yeah, her name is Reggae. When we were in
Really?
Jamaica, yeah, I got to swim with her and some of the other ones there. And it's interesting. They're sort of captive raised, born in captivity, raised by people, but they have access to the sea, and they can literally do jump out of their enclosure right over its like water level and go out and, do what they do out there. But they always come back because they think they're people.
They're very sociable, aren't they?
Yeah, and of course they're fed, and there's no sharks, obviously, in their huge enclosure. So
yeah, there's a lot of some areas that you talked about in one of your books that you don't realize that when you go swimming at around some of these piers that there's these big deep holes with these ginormous fish that live in them.
I think oh gosh, it was one time we were fishing in Port Charlotte, and they have these phosphate docks there, which are famous for having holes, like deep water holes that you can catch large fish out of near the old pilings. And I had something on, I think it was maybe a 50 or 100 pound grouper. It's mentioned in Monsters and Marine Mysteries there. And then all of a sudden something took the grouper. We were fishing near a 70-foot hole, and it yanked me sideways. It snapped the rod in half. It screamed offline and broke 400-pound test mono, and it left a swirl behind that was about, the size of my office, at least, like 13 or 15 feet across. It looked like a hippo had done its thing, like this. And my guy was like, well, I don't know what the heck that was. Must be one of them giant, 1,000-pounders that people say they see and nobody ever catches. Lord knows.
Yeah, I love a good fishing run. Now you've got a new book, I think, coming out. Is this the new one that's coming out?
Yeah, Minions and Monsters. This is something I actually put together a good over 30 years ago, and it was a whole series of illustrations I did of different fictional creatures, monsters, things like that. A lot of them are stuff that I made, invented myself. And there was a whole book written on it, which has sat collecting dust for ages. And Olaf is doing a lot of meowing. Do you think I should escort him outside?
Oh, that's okay. I really love letting the guests have their pets on. For the people listening, if you do hear a cat meowing, it's did you want to introduce your kitty cat?
Olaf. Olaf, come here. Come on, you little shite. Can I say shite on here?
Of course.
Well, you already said it.
Beep. Olaf.
Yeah, he's not a little kitty. He's a big kitty.
Let me go grapple him, but I'm going to have to take the headset off, I think.
Oh, that's fine. Do your thing.
I won't be able to hear you.
He mentioned Port Charlotte. I used to live right near Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, Pirate Harbor.
Did you? Have you ever gone fishing over there and seen some massive fish stuff over there?
I had a 3-story house right on the water with my own dock and boat.
Oh,
and
wow.
we used to go fishing, but the only thing I ever caught were red snapper and, not much else, really. I'm not a good fisherman. It's too
there
hot.
he is. Look.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Now, that's a megalithic catch right there.
Yeah.
Look at that cat. I bet he could eat a pretty big fish.
He's huge.
Yeah, they can get really big, those cats. My goodness.
What kind of a cat is that? Besides being a really big cat.
When he comes back, he'll tell you. He's got 2 of them. But I've done some all kinds of different fishing. I love the bobber fishing, and then of course you've got the other one with the rod. Oh God, fly fishing. I haven't done that in a long time.
Fly fishing. Yeah, I used to do that in Colorado quite a bit, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
Fly fishing. Yeah, I love fly fishing. I don't think I want to catch a shark on a fly fish though.
I don't know that there's a fly rod that would be able to handle a shark.
I don't think so.
Oh, they do it.
We were wondering what kind of cat was that again, Rob? Wanted to know.
Oh, a Siberian forest cat.
Yes. Yeah, we were talking about sharks, and it's interesting. Joe Dennis at Padre Island, on the beach a few times. I'm pretty sure while I was in the water, I came face to face with a few sharks in the water. Not fun when you're out looking for shells and stuff like that. And then you find out there's somebody chumming down from you fishing. That's scary, right? Like if you're out and you're enjoying your, this is a tourist town, and tourists don't know that the locals down at the other end of the beach are chumming for sharks and all kinds of stuff.
There are some amazing things out there, and the scariest part about, I write marine fiction, marine terror, sci-fi, thrillers and horror and stuff, is that, once you're in the water, especially when you're on the surface, whether you're wearing a life jacket or just swimming, usually the water's murky. You really can't see under you.
That's right. You don't know what's in there.
And we're very slow.
Well, bull sharks, they are notorious for, like, I used to work in operation room nursing, and I remember the year of the shark when I was doing travel nursing up and down the East Coast. And there were so many shark victims that we had come in that year. It was nuts. And the shark would literally, the man tried to pull his wife out of the shark's mouth, and the shark turned on him and started chowing down on him. So these things, they don't care what they're after, right?
Neither do alligators.
Yes.
He mentioned Port Charlotte. I lived in Punta Gorda Pirate Harbor, if you happen to know where that is.
I have heard of it, but I have never been there.
Yeah, I'm just about 5 miles south of Port Charlotte, or was. And I used to go swimming in the canal in front of our house. It was right on the water. And it was about 50 feet across. And I'd swim back and forth every day, about 4 or 5 laps. It was nice. And then one day I saw a 12-foot alligator swim down the canal.
No.
Yeah, that's the last time. And it was salt water. I didn't think they swam in salt water.
No, they do. Brackish.
They do. And
brackish. That's what it was. A brackish. Yeah, it was brackish.
Yeah. Bulls can go into brackish too, right?
Yes.
We've had them come up and sun themselves on like people's lawns and that. Sure, we had, I don't remember, an anesthesiologist called one day and said, I can't come in. We're like, why not? We're here. We need you. There's a gator. He said, I've sunning himself in front of my door.
Is this in Newfoundland?
No, this was in Texas.
South Texas, yeah.
And it was a resaca that he lived next to. It wasn't like a huge body of water or anything. So you just don't know what's in water, right, Max?
No, you don't. And I had an incident when my wife was pregnant with our daughter, where me and my dad were shore fishing a 12-acre lake down in Florida, and a big gator came up and tried to grab the old man.
Oh my gosh!
Right as we were fishing, and I had to fight the thing off with a landing net. Thankfully it was like a 5-foot net, and I was beating it over the head. Boom, boom, boom. The net was all messed up. The old man started taking pictures after a while. He's like, "That's it. Take it to him, Max. Click, click. Watch the teeth. Click." I'm like, "Will you stop distracting me?" Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. You don't know what's under there. So what do you think about, I know I had the other book up earlier with a picture of a giant squid wrapped around a ship. And I can bring up a picture of a Newfoundland giant squid. Like, I have this on my logo because it's a very popular thing here in Newfoundland. And it goes back all the way to the 1800s of boats being crushed and eyewitnesses and stuff. Max, do you want to talk a little bit about some of these creatures? People think they're fake, but hell no, they're not. My grandfather caught one.
I actually have a chapter in Monsters and Marine Mysteries about these squid. There are a lot of sightings. My personal theory is that based on these sightings and other evidence that, let me see if I can get to that part.
I was thinking, you mentioned that a lot of sail ships encountered them, and it makes sense because they would have been afraid of ships with motors, right? Because that would have scared them away. So I wonder, I'm sure the Vikings encountered these too, because we have a Viking village here, Lansing Meadows. Would be interesting to know if they encountered them, because there's so many that were encountered back in the 1800s. Can you imagine like the 1300s? How many were on the go?
The my theory is that like there has been, and it's in the book, where a certain like a racing yacht, one like a trimaran, was actually attacked by a very, very large squid that stopped the yacht from sailing. And the guys came out and they said there was this enormous squid that had grabbed the boat by its rudder. This is like a 105-foot long catamaran, and was holding it, and the tentacles were as thick as the guy's thigh. Now, if you see some of these squid, like they're a tentacle on like a 30-foot squid is only maybe this thick. The arm.
Can you imagine yourself now out in the water, in the fog? I doubt there'd be an iceberg there, because I don't think squid are in that cold of the water, are they? They might be, because, well, we get them all the time here in Newfoundland, but yeah, can you imagine? And one of the eyewitnesses talked about, like you said, Max, it was as big and round as his leg, the arm was.
A squid that size would be big enough to attack even a whale. And there's old, like wood carvings. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was looking for something in your book. There was a captain who described something that happened, and I was going to tell you the captain's words. It was pretty interesting. Oh yes, it's called the Pearl Incident. Do you remember that one? Oh
yeah, it's in the book. I'm trying to think which one. That was the one where the ship was dragged underwater, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was. So this again is his book, and on page 211, I'm going to hold up a picture of it as an example. But so the captain was on board, and he remembers everything. He saw it all, and he wrote it all down, and he kind of talked about it. And guess who was on board? Now, this was, let me see, I'm looking at the date. Okay, 1874 in the Bay of Bengal, India. And who was on board but a Newfoundlander, right? So the guy sees this thing, and the captain goes down to get his pistol, and the Newfoundlander says, the Newfoundlander's name, I think his name was Bill Darling, and the captain was preparing to fire, and he said, I wouldn't do that if I were you, because he knew, right, that the squid are very, very violent creatures, and if he was a fisherman, he must have known and have heard about how violent these things could be. So he said, if you shoot that thing, that'll come back and hurt you. So he didn't listen to him. He went up, he shot it. Sure enough, it started coming at the boat. And they said that the trail or the train was almost, 100 feet long or something. And then the Newfoundlander said, get out your axes and your knives, everybody. Of course, the captain didn't tell him to do that. And my God. And so can you imagine all this happening? It took the boat and literally squished it and turned it upside down, right?
Yeah, it's a sailing ship. They said 150 tons. And the train that they described it, which is 100 feet long, would have been the arms of the squid.
Can you imagine?
Means this animal was absolutely gigantic. And it says here...
The body is 75 feet long and 25 inches thick. Brown in color, oblong body, at least half as long as the schooner and just as thick. And they talked about the squid's movement being like jerky, which makes sense, right? Because it would have been pushing water through to move in the water.
Well, when they swim, they inflate themselves, like their mantle. They bring in seawater, and then they expel it like this, like jet propulsion. So that's what you would see with that kind of like boom. So
and also, you mentioned also about whale oil, which was interesting because they mainly eat whales. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, that's what they used for the lanterns. So the boat, probably from underneath, it was quiet, looked like a whale, and smelled like one because of the oil, right?
Well, I think that what would happen in this incident would be exactly that. The squid, which was near the surface there, mistook the schooner for a sperm whale, which would be its natural enemy, and then when it got shot, it became angry and it charged the boat. It says here, I can actually read a sentence or two from his report. It says that on him. It says the brute struck us and the ship quivered under the thud. Another moment, monstrous arms like trees seized the vessel and she heeled over, being pulled to the side. In another second, the monster was on board, meaning its tentacles, squeezed in between the two masks, real screaming, slash for your lives. But our slashing was of no avail, for the brute, holding on by his arms, slipped his vast body overboard and pulled the vessel down with him on her beam ends. And it says we were thrown into the water once, and just as I went over, I caught sight of one of the crew, squashed up between the mast and one of those awful arms. In a few seconds, she filled and went down.
One of those crew were Bill, unfortunately, the Newfoundlander.
Mm-hmm. He says the portion of its body was 75 feet long and 25 feet thick, just the body, with the arms adding another 100 feet to its total length. At least that's what it sounds in the description. So that is an enormous cephalopod. And an animal like that would certainly be capable of preying on whales. When I was writing the Kronos Rising Kraken series there, I had a species of octopus based on that, the one that washed ashore, which sometimes they say is an octopus, is not, Octopus gigantus, and that these giant octopi live deep down in the ocean abyss, and their natural prey is the sperm whale. So when the sperm whale comes down, to hunt for squid, sometimes they don't come back because there are these enormous octopi down there that are capable of grabbing a large whale and tearing at it, holding it until it suffocates, or even squeezing it until it can't breathe. And that's how they make a living.
And a lot of the whales are seen with scars on them from that. And I didn't realize from your book, and I learned a lot of stuff about marine animals with your book, that the sperm whale's jaw only possesses teeth in the mandible lower jaw. I didn't know they didn't have teeth on the top, which means they're not designed for combat, right?
Well, they're designed to pierce and hold the prey. So a lot of times the theory is that they have very powerful echolocation, and they use their echolocation like a sonar gun, and they can stun a squid from a distance. Otherwise, the squid is fast enough to get away by jet propulsion. Then they slam into it, they grab it with their jaws and shake at it, tear at it until they crush its brain, kill it, and then they will sometimes eat it there or bring it up to the surface. But those teeth, you got to figure they're like pegs, and then there are sockets for them in the upper jaw, and so they go into those pegs like boom, like that. When it closes, it bites down, and that lets them hold the squid or octopus or sharks, they eat those too, in place, and then they swallow them whole.
Max, it's interesting you mentioned sonar, because in your book there's also mention of several, I want to say, U.S. warships that were attacked by giant squids who had their sonar going, which probably made the squid angry, and maybe it thought it was one of these whales.
Yes, it's the USS Stein, which was a Knox-class destroyer. It holds the record of being the only warship known to have been attacked by an enormous squid. And what happened is that it was shortly, I think they left out of Los Angeles, and shortly after being at sea, there's different versions of the story, but supposedly there was a shudder, and then the sonar went completely dead. That forced them to return to port for repairs, because a warship obviously cannot be out there without its active and inactive sonar. They're blind. You can't even navigate safely, without that, let alone pick up enemies, potential enemies, threats, etc. And when they stripped off, they had this thing called a no-foul rubber coating that covers the sonar dome. For everybody who doesn't know that, the sonar dome, if you see ships, you have a ship and this is the prow, and you'll see the prow has like a curved portion that cuts in like this to help it cut through the water. And then there's a bulbous part, like a bump it looks like at the front. That is, and there's photos of it in there if you want to pull them up. I don't know if you can. But that's the sonar dome, and it emits passive and active sonar that helps the ship detect threats underwater. Everything from boats on the surface, the seabed, torpedoes, God forbid, everything. So when I looked at this, it turns out that they found hooks in that's an estimate based on all the evidence of how big a squid could have been compared to it. That's the sonar dome of either the exact vessel or one in its same class. And it shows you how big and round that is.
Pretty amazing how big that squid is compared to the ship.
Well, the sonar that the destroyer put out, and I checked it, obviously researched this, is in the same range that the whales emit when they're closing on prey. So it's quite possible that the whale passed over this enormous squid, which would be like an alpha of its kind.
Yeah, there's an example of the different sizes of the whales versus squid. I mean, look at the blue whale, the biggest whale in the ocean. And then you've also got the sperm, but look at the size of the squid down there.
Yeah, these are all different reports that are in there in the chapter. And so I put all the incidents together to show approximate estimates of how big these reported squid are compared to known large size whales, for size comparison. But I think that the squid must have thought that it was being attacked, that this sonar dome, which could easily be mistaken for the bulbous head of a bull sperm whale, was passing over it, emitting sonar. What does the squid do? It attacks the actual sonar dome, thinking it's the head of its enemy, and starts shredding it. They said like 80% or 90% of the sonar dome, which is big, as you can see there, in seconds was all shredded up from the claws on the squid suckers. And they found these hooks that they pulled out that were 5 times bigger than any known specimen. They have hooks that line their suckers, like teeth, tooth-edged, like saws. And so these hooks were 5 times bigger. So
yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the business end of one of these guys. I remember squid jigging here, and they are intelligent creatures. They communicate with colors and stuff like that, the small, the Humboldt ones. And they'll squirt ink in your face, like when you're trying to bring them in when you're squid jigging, right? Like they'll do all kinds of stuff. They're very intelligent and aggressive. They'll try to like get you with their, their reachers, and their beaks and stuff. They're really smart.
Do you eat squid?
In Newfoundland, yeah, it's a big commodity. In fact, when my grandfather, my grandmother used to make him, I'd ask Nan, I said, what is that? And she'd say, oh, that's a dinosaur egg. And of course, you're young, you're gullible, you believe it. But what it was stuffed squid. And a lot of people have squid rings, which are cut up squid and made into kind of like onion rings.
But they're extremely intelligent creatures. In fact, some think they're sentient.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat one. Only when I was a kid, I tried one, and it was tasted like a rubber band to me.
Yeah, me too. I tried it when I was younger too. They called it calamari. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was pasta, but it was really rubbery. I didn't care for it, actually.
And a lot of people eat, octopus and stuff like that too. But, back to what you said about them being sentient, I kind of tend to believe that they are very intelligent creatures, right?
Well, we know they are. I mean, for instance, an octopus that was in a tank in an aquarium building that was research didn't like the overhead light. So it would squirt water at it and knock it out. And they couldn't understand why every other night the light was burnt out. And it was because the octopus didn't like it and kept squirting water at it when they got it on video. And another time, an octopus managed to get out of its tank, crawl across the floor, get into a drain pipe, and found its way out to the sea and escaped.
Oh,
and of course, and on videos, I think everyone must have seen the octopuses or octopi that are in jars that can manage to unscrew the cap. They don't do it to get out of the jar. They do it because they want oxygen, apparently. So they're very intelligent creatures, and they actually use some tools. So to me, to eat anything sentient, I would eat an octopus or a squid any more than I'd eat a monkey or a chimpanzee. It just bothers me personally, But,
yes,
I'm
indeed.
kind of squeamish anyway.
I heard that they can ball themselves up as long as their beak fits through, right, Max? I think that they can fit through.
If the beak will fit, which is the only really hard part, then yes, they can escape. They're master escape artists. I think that octopus's name might have been Otto, the one you're talking about, and he used to use his mantle and shoot water and short out the lights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they said he used to juggle the hermit crabs when he was bored, like tossing them up like that. Everything.
That's hilarious.
Quite a character.
Kind of like cats. If they can squeeze their whiskers into something, then the rest of them will fit. So don't cut off your cat's whiskers if you're a child.
I agree with Rob on what you were saying. I mean, there's videos of octopuses having nightmares, like they're asleep, and you
really?
see
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
they change colors,
Wow.
pale white, all different patterns as they're dreaming. Their bodies react to it, and the iridophores and chromatophores in their skin that let them change color and texture are going crazy because what they're dreaming is shown on their skin. So they
So
are
they have
Wow.
REM sleep.
yes,
They have REM sleep.
their brains are proportionally larger than that of many mammals, and that's only a third of their brains. Then they have more brain cells, neurons throughout all their arms. So it's like when I was writing the Kraken series, you have to, obviously you need to know your stuff. You know that. So, yeah, they had I found out that they could actually perform complex tasks, like assign 2 or 3 arms to do something, and then the rest of them could be doing something else.
Oh my gosh.
I have
Wow.
2 questions for you. One, do you think the Kraken was the ancient mythology because people ran into these giant squids? And number 2, when do giant squids normally?
Oh, Rob, you got yourself muted. Oh, no.
Sorry,
Hey, Rob, you got yourself muted.
not now.
Can you repeat the question?
I heard the part
sure.
about the Kraken and running into them or not, and then I didn't hear the second part.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering if mythology came about with the Kraken because of giant squids. And secondly, when do they mostly attack? Is it at night, day, or any time?
So any
Bad
incident
cat.
where somebody runs into an enormous squid, and for example, if you have these old sailing ships, I mean, even a Roman vessel, a Greek ship, or anything like that, and if the squid decides that that is a whale, I mean, in the book there, I had a report from guys who we're out on a 55-foot boat, and an enormous octopus started exploring the boat while they were drifting along. They were putting out fish and stuff like that, bait, chum. And this octopus's enormous tentacle, I mean, it was up to a yard thick, so imagine how big an octopus would have to be, was touching the boat with its suckers like this to see if it was edible. And of course, they have, what do they call those? Chemoreceptors in their suckers. So it's like our taste buds. And then it decided that that wasn't edible, luckily for them, and then it swam away. So if a squid sees a Roman, what do they call those Roman warships?
The Greeks were triremes.
Triremes, yeah. Triremes.
So picture a 50, 80-foot squid comes up, wham, and slams onto a boat like that. And it's like, okay, this isn't edible. Oh, wait, I got a sailor, and maybe it takes somebody or something like that. You have stories like the legend of Scylla, like Scylla and Charybdis, for example. Could have been a very large, aggressive squid that decided that, oh, here's some hors d'oeuvres. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it could happen. And then you see something like that, and then obviously the story of the Kraken could certainly come to be.
It does.
And when are they mostly sighted? I'm just curious, like at night or during the day? I've sailed across the Pacific Ocean a couple times, and I've never seen any of them. I just wondered what would be the best time to probably spot one if you could.
Well, if you're in a large craft that's using a gasoline engine, the odds of you seeing something are pretty slim, because that noise, let alone this huge metal vessel that you're on, that weighs tens of thousands of tons or more. I mean, I've been on cruise ships that weigh 130,000 tons, as big as an aircraft carrier. Nothing's going to, come near that, especially like a quiet, stealthy predator. But if you're sitting there and you're anchored up, or if you're on a sailing vessel, I mean, at nighttime, you're undoubtedly going to get more action.
I was just going to say nighttime, because don't they use bioluminescence and things like that?
They do, and not only that, but all the bait fish that they would feed on, or the smaller fish would feed upon, would work their way up in the water column and come up to the surface at night. People that have been trapped on rafts have found if you fished at night, you had a chance of catching stuff to stay alive, that type of thing.
Yeah, because when you fish at night, you shine your light down, all the fish come over to it, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense then that the smallest fish and squid would come up. The larger ones, larger fish and larger squid that prey on them would come up. And the even larger squid, which eat a lot of squid, are cannibals down in the extreme depths. They feed on other squid.
Kind of like sharks. Don't they do that to themselves, right? If another shark is in the area?
Yeah, many sharks prey on smaller sharks. If you have a shark on on the line and you're fighting it, I've been on a boat where a 130-pound blue shark was being fought, and a great white came up and just bit it in half and left just the head.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, you see a stranded fish, that's easy prey for them. Then their instincts to strike are triggered, just like a fishing lure. If you fish for bass and you have a lure that wobbles through the water, I'm hurt, I'm dying. It's easy kills are few and far between in nature. So when something like that comes along, they're going to pounce on it.
Now,
sharks. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was. Go ahead about the sharks. I was looking for a picture of something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering. They say sharks date back like 75 million years. Some species.
Yes, they go all the way back. They used to have all different forms there with all different types of teeth and dorsals that look like I don't know what. Some of them had a dorsal that came up and it had teeth on it. I don't know what they were using that for. They had war-tooth sharks that had a lower jaw that curved like this, like a spiral with teeth like that, and teeth that curved up like that inside the jaw, almost like I don't know, it must have been like a shearing apparatus, if you can picture that.
Fun time to go swimming, huh?
Yeah, the prehistoric seas were even more dangerous than whatever we have now, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
There's another thing that a lot of people see, and it's a kind of like Loch Ness, but it's like a sea serpent. And a lot of people have talked about these things in your book too.
I think some of the most compelling sightings in there have been ones like
we've even got one here in Newfoundland. There he is.
I was privileged to interview a gentleman who was friends with Gary LaMotta. And Gary LaMotta was famous. In fact, let me see if I can pull that up, actually. 1 second.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about like Loch Ness Monster and things like that, but didn't that guy come out and say, hey, that was just some floating thing that I took a picture of?
Oh, the original.
Surgeons?
Yeah.
The original, but they've recently done some sonar surveys, and they found some pretty big things moving down there. They don't know what they are.
There was a Greenland shark, I do believe, 6 gill.
This thing was about 150 feet long.
Could have been a whale shark, right?
I don't know what's that big. To me, it would probably be a giant squid or something. But does Dr. Burton have any background in this sort of thing? I mean,
archaeology. Do you ever see
from the mythological end of this stuff? This is all very fascinating. A colleague of mine we've just turned in 2 manuscripts for books on. A monument that we've been looking at in the Golan called the Serpent Mound, and so we've done a lot of work on chaos monsters and looking at world mythology and serpent cults and things of that nature. But it's interesting how in mythology the sea has historically represented chaos, and I'm sure both of my peers here have run across that in their own research. But it's interesting, even in the Bible, within the first 2 chapters, or the first 2 verses of Genesis chapter 1, this watery void is sort of a palette for creation, and one of the words that's used there for void, tohu, is actually cognate with the Akkadian Tiamat, the chaos dragon, who was herself associated with the watery underworld, the Absu of Mesopotamian mythology. And so the sea, the ocean, has always been a deep well, well, pun intended, I suppose, a deep well for housing these kinds of symbols of the unknown and the monster, and it's a legacy and a residue that existed into more modern periods in our cartographic history. You know, there are a lot of imprints on these old maps that talk about monsters being beyond certain points and out into the deepest parts of the ocean, the unknown parts, unexplored parts.
Here there be monsters.
Here
Have
there
you
be
been to-
monsters. That's right.
Have you been to the Serpent Mound? I think it's in Ohio, the state park, I think it is. That huge, long Serpent Mound. You have to climb a tower to actually see it from up high to get the whole image of it.
Mm-hmm.
Who created that? Have you know anything about that?
Well, the interesting thing about Serpent Mounds is that, you know, that's probably the most iconic one, at least in North America, but they're really all over the world. These serpentine effigies, ophiolatry or serpent worship has been as ubiquitous as any other kind of religion in the history of the world. But what's interesting about a lot of these serpent mounds, whether they're in the Americas or the Old World, is that they're typically they typically have some sort of astronomical significance, not infrequently tied to the solstices and the equinoxes, but also the Milky Way as a kind of serpentine representation.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah. The Maya, for instance, link Kukulkan with the Milky Way.
Was it Kukulkan or Quetzalcoatl?
Well, there are variations on a theme. They're basically the same deity, but yeah, Kukulkan is the Mayan name. Quetzalcoatl is the Nahuatl Aztec name.
Yeah.
So, Rob and Judd, the bottom of the ocean, and Max, to step out for a second, it's like the moon or outer space. We haven't been down there, right? I mean, just
certainly, and I'm sure that Rob could speak to this too. Is that statistically, we know more about outer space than we do the depths of our own oceans.
Well, they say we've only explored about 15% of it.
And that's what I'm sure sparked you, Max, and looking at all this different things. I mean, not only do you write about this, but you've got some other personal experiences. If we get off marine stuff too, didn't you have something happen in a graveyard when you were a kid? I think Rob will like this story.
The cat had his claw stuck in this.
Oh, what a sin!
The wicker chair stools have this cloth covering, and he got his claw stuck. I had to go save him.
Oh.
Yeah, but he's okay. Yeah, you put something on there to protect the chair, and then the cat gets stuck or something like that. But yeah, there was
the darndest things.
Yep. So it's such a fantastical story that I am not super comfortable talking about it, but it's in the book, so I guess I don't have any choice. If we have time, make sure you remind me if we have time. I had a UFO sighting myself a few months ago that was incredible. I mean, incredible. And the pictures are, but it's worth talking about. So the story you're talking is when I lived in Philadelphia in the suburbs, and there was an area around there that's part of Fairmount Park, which is kind of like a not nice version of like Central Park. It's nice in some areas, but a lot of pollution and stuff like that. And attached to that, it goes through the section, and there's a cemetery that it abuts called Mount Moriah Cemetery. And so when I was 19, and I was this young martial artist type, and we had a Doberman Pinscher that was a rescue dog that we had, and he and I used to go for these midnight walks around this part of Fairmount Park, and then through the woods, and then we would climb up this really high hill, and we would get into the back end of the cemetery there because there was no fencing, and like that. Took a lot of work because you're literally climbing up a hill that's like 45 degrees, if not more. And then when you got to the edge, it was like this overhang of dirt and crumbling stuff and tree roots, and really kind of, not smart thinking, let alone wandering a cemetery at midnight. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be an idiot. So go ahead, Rob. I know you had something you were thinking.
No. Actually, I was thinking about the UFO thing. Did you? I'm changing the subject real quick. We'll get right back to it. Did you report it to MUFON?
Oh, Rob is a former MUFON investigator.
I emailed or something, and nobody ever got back to me.
Wow, I'm surprised.
But
you have evidence, right? Photographs?
Well, the evidence sucks. What happened is we were on vacation in the Philippines, and we were staying in a houseboat adjacent to this gorgeous area, like Palawan, it's called.
Oh, wow.
It's like a nature preserve, rainforest islands, turquoise waters, gorgeous. I mean, like breathtaking. You hardly see anybody there except people that are staying in the area on kayaks and things of that nature. And it was like everything was like, sometimes things just conspire against you in terms of like you being able to get what you need, like to show something. And I was there. My daughter and I had been out on a 2-person kayak, and then she was out, I think, just swimming around maybe 50 feet from the dock. I was pretty exhausted at this point. I'd been sick for 3 days. I got food poisoning from a local restaurant there. When they say don't drink the water and stuff like that, there's a reason for it. Yeah. And so what ended up happening is, because of that, is while my wife and daughter went to go see the rainforest, they went to go do all these trips like snorkeling and all this other stuff like that, I was trapped on this houseboat, which is like a big giant flat, almost like a floating house that's anchored up and everything. I mean, I have a lot of pictures of it, but and I've been like, like at death's door, throwing up, and the other part, for a couple of days. So you're kind of pale and drawn out, whatever. And my phone was not holding, or was not charged. This is what happens. And so I'm lying there on the deck, and I don't know where my wife was at this point, and I'm lying back and I'm just trying to rest, and I have like these polarized sunglasses on, and I'm watching, like looking up at the clouds. And as I'm staring at the clouds, I see this gigantic, biggest moving thing I've ever seen. Okay. Disc. It's all white, except that it's got the texture, meaning on its surface, of the clouds around it. And I used to look at clouds and say, I'll bet you there's a UFO hiding in that, or hiding in that, and hiding in that.
I've done that.
Yeah. And I thought, because it's a weird looking,
like it was cloaking itself or something?
Yeah. Like the octopus does, with the chromatophores in the skin.
Okay.
And the surface of it was white, but it matched the clouds, and it was moving between two clouds, silent as death. I mean, just like no sound. And I'm looking up at this, leaning back, and I'm like, and I could see 2/3 of its shape. It was like the whole butt part, like this, okay? And then the part in the center, and the clouds were kind of like formed like that, and it was moving like between them. See, like this, really slow, like this, And I'm staring at it, and I'm like, you don't see perfect circles in nature, except usually if it's organic things, like a seashell or things like that. You don't see something 10,000 feet up or whatever the cloud cover was there.
Not usually, no. We're at the 54-minute mark.
Okay. And I'm like, holy beep, I'm like, and I realized what it was. And it was, like I said, its color matched the clouds. And I grabbed my phone, and of course it's dead. And I'm like, Ava, my daughter, I'm like, I need your phone. Give me your phone. No, give me your phone. Give me your phone. Like this, she's like, no. And I'm like, can't you just, and I don't think without the sunglasses, she could see it, or she didn't even want to listen because, teenagers and whatnot, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to go. And then I start harassing my wife. I make her come down. I ask for her phone. She goes, oh, it's upstairs. I'll get it. All this stuff. And while this is going on, the thing, and I don't know if I'm sure they didn't hear me, like that, but the disc starts moving up and up and up. And of course, it's moving up. The clouds are starting to swirl around it and fill in and fill in and fill in. By the time she gives me her phone, and I take like 2 or 3 pictures of it, all you can see, even with me trying to enhance it, is like the curve, like this, of its, what I'm going to call its rear or something, or maybe it was the bow, and like a little bit of sunlight, like on the other end of it, this type of thing. But I mean, this thing could have been 5,000 feet across. And I'm not kidding. Okay. It was enormous. Wow. The size of a small city.
Amazing how something that big could not have any sound.
Well, I'm sure they have technology for that, but I mean, and it wasn't like, it wasn't disturbing the clouds. It was, they were being very careful to what they were doing. They were just moving along.
Rob is going to want you to put a MUFON report in, because you can do it whenever, right? Now, didn't you also, changing the topic, have another sighting that's completely different of a big cat?
Yeah. No, I just want to say, though, but, we came to the conclusion, my friends and I, that apparently, I don't know what race of beings were on there, but they were apparently fans of my Kronos Rising series. And so they were apparently looking to get an autographed copy of one of the books. But
did you give him one?
Well, the telepathy isn't as good as it used to be when I was younger and everything like that. But that story is rock solid truth. I mean, like, I was like, whoa! Like, I had an incident when I was 24 where I saw what had to be a UFO moving at like 3 times the speed of the jumbo jets under it, and it was going across. This is in Philadelphia by the airport where I lived there, and it was like moving across the midnight sky, going like this. And I mean 3 times as fast as the jets, like 747s and stuff like that. Okay.
Wow.
And it was like this, shh, and then all of a sudden it just went shh, a complete 180, the exact opposite direction, no deceleration, no turn. And I was watching because I thought it was a jet fighter. It was so fast. And when it did that, I was like, whoa, But this was broad daylight. I saw this thing plain as anything, and it was enormous.
We're going to have to bring you back on to talk about your other different sightings that you've had. You've got so many things to talk about and so many different books to talk about. We can't fit it all in. I want you to start giving shout outs to where people can find your work and all that good stuff.
Okay, so if you go on my author site, which is kronosrising.com, Kronos with a K, you can find all the books are on there. There's some free downloads. There's everything, like in terms of all the stuff. Amazon has an author's page for me as well. If you go on YouTube channel, that's called @Real Max Hawthorne, or Supernatural Survivor with Max Hawthorne. And there is a lot of videos on there, which I'm sure we can talk about if you'd like at some point down the road. There's a video of a dead whale that has yard-wide shark bites taken out of it. Which yeah, I mean, it's plain as day on there. And so that's on there. I think the cat one you're talking about is a thing called Phantom Cat Revealed. Is it a shapeshifter?
Shapeshifter, yeah.
Yes. And there's it's like a 24-minute video, and I ended up with footage of what looks like a really big black cat, infrared footage.
Is that on your website?
It's the website has it, the link to YouTube. It's on the YouTube channel there, @Real Max Hawthorne or Supernatural Survivor with Max Hawthorne. And this cat, as it's walking along, and I did it frame by frame, the analysis, it seems to change shape as you're looking at it. It's like things like pop out of it. And I came to the conclusion that it was alarmed, maybe by me walking over to the window, maybe, I don't know what, but it looks like it is able to change shape. It has it looks like beings, like heads and faces that start popping out of its shoulder and its flank and its rib cage and stuff like that. And some of these heads look like they might be reptilian, they might be gray, all different stuff. I mean, it's fascinating to look at. So it's on the YouTube channel.
So everybody, check out Max Hawthorne's books and his website. I just had his website up there for Dr. Burton and Rob You can see on the bottom there, I've got on the screen rolling where you can find all of their information and their books. Did you want to give a shout out to your followers?
Who?
Do you want to start first, Rob or Dr. Burton?
Go ahead, Rob. Rob.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, you can get my books at Amazon, Simon & Schuster, Bermuda Press. There's a couple other places as well, but actually just Google my name and tons of stuff comes up, or go to Amazon and search Rob Shelsky. One thing, Mr. Hawthorne, the next time you come on, I want to hear the rest of that ghost story.
Which ghost? You mean the thing in the cemetery?
Yeah.
Well, the one, yeah, you were telling us about the cemetery. Yeah, next time. Yeah.
The most terrifying thing that's ever happened to me, and I have found. I mean, I've been shot at a nightclub. I've had come across a body, somebody who hung himself in the dark, face to face. I've had some scary experiences, but that was by far the scariest.
I guess.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for coming on the show tonight. We appreciate having Max with us. Dr. Burton, thank you again for being here.
Pleasure. Honored.
We're going to leave you guys with some Bog Team music. How about some metal 80s rock music? And everybody follow Max Hawthorne, Rob Shelsky, and Dr. Judd Burton. You're listening in on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 on that Gulf.